Now, Mark, do your thing, brother. Man, you guys got to see a little behind the curtain before you were supposed to see behind the curtain. But Mark, my goodness, man, I do love when you play that song because it brings me back to when my parents told me about their wedding day. This was literally the song they danced to on their wedding day, and it literally warms my heart. So everybody in chat right now, let's give it up for Mark for playing that beautiful song. Everybody, let's hear it for Mark one more time. I love it. Mark, you're the man. Seriously, it's beautiful. All right, here we go, guys. It's on and we're talking. Are we at a concert or are we at a conference? We are at a conference, but we wanted to mix the two together for a little bit more fun. But here's what we're here to do right now. That's right. There you go. I see the chat's off and running. That's what I'm talking about. Love it. Hey, check this out. Why are we here? We're here to answer this question right here. What is borrower retention? What does it really mean to your business? We've all heard Black Knight talk about 15% retention rates, but what does it mean? Maybe you looked at your own retention rates, right? And you're like, oh, we're at 18, we're at 8, we're at 22. But what does it mean? How do you quantify? How do you quantify what those retention rates mean? Well, that's what we want to do today. What does 1% extra retention mean? That's a question we asked ourselves, and that's what we wanted to discover. And so check this out. We took 19 random lenders over a course of 2 years, deep study and research. And we made this one huge discovery that we're going to unveil. We're going to break it down for you right now. So here's what we did. Let's really dive into the study itself, okay? We wanted to look at retention growth rates. Now remember, we're not talking about sales boomerang notifications. We're talking about retention rates. What happened in 2019? Where's my wonderful pop-up that's supposed to pop up here? Boom. What happened in 2019? And what was the growth rate to 2020? What changed? Okay. Where did your retention rates go? And so what we were looking for with these 19 lenders either had no automated borrower retention system or they haven't dialed it in yet. And we wanted to see when they implemented an automated system, what would happen? What were the results? And that's what we're going to talk about right now. But before we do that, it's important to, I gotta believe that there's some people here that say, what is automated borrower retention? Maybe you've never heard of it before. And if you haven't heard of it before, I got to talk to my marketing department because you should have heard of it, Richard. Most of you probably have heard of it before, but let's really break it down. What is automated borrower retention? Okay. First of all, well, it starts with the word that's in the title, automation. But automation of what? It's automation of your data, right? It's automatically coming to you and from you. It's being pushed into the tracking system automatically. It's the ability to have your loan officers not have to log into anything, right? Automatically being able to receive information without having to do any sort of login. All of that are reporting automation. Speaking of reporting, that's the number 2 thing, right? There's 3 main things. Number 2 is reporting. What kind of reporting? Well, how about knowing how well the system is performing? An automated retention system should let you know what your ROI is, which loan officer are doing well, which regions, which divisions. And automation reporting is everything. One of my mentors said, inspect what you expect. If you expect to grow your retention rates, you should report on it. And the third thing is signals, right? And we're going to dive a little deeper into these signals right now. What kind of signals? Here's what kind of signals we're talking about. Credit improvement, right? Or how about a rate and term refi? Okay. Or maybe a mortgage inquiry. You should know these things. Or maybe some sort of life event, right? All of those signals is what makes an automated borrower retention system successful. That's what you need. All 3 things: automation, reporting, and signals. There's a lot more signals than that, but those are just a few that you should be getting. Okay. Now, we're going to go into the big reveal. We're going to break it into 3 segments. First, we're going to go over the math. Then we're going to go over the reveal, the big shocking thing that we discovered. And then we're going to pick one lender and really dive into their specific results that they saw when implementing an automated borrower retention system. So if we want to get into the math, I want to show you like this. So let's look at the math this way for just a second. What is 1%? Like, what happens when you add 1% extra of retention? And so we're gonna pretend we have a lender that's got 20,000 customers. Okay, these are their customers. These are funded deals. These are people that have done business with this group before. If they increase, not total retention, but if they increase their retention rates by 1%, that means they added an extra 200 loans. Now we have to choose an average loan amount. Some of you are looking at this and saying, hey, Alex, I'm way north of 300,000. Or some of you are saying I'm below 200,000. Let's use an average, okay? Let's say the average is 250,000, because we're going to come back to this number in just a second. 250,000. Well, that's an extra $50 million in volume. And at 2.5% gross profit, that's 1.25 million in your pocket. So guess what? Let's all take a step back for just a second and understand that we finally are able to quantify what a percent increase in retention means to your business. We've just quantified it. It's not just a percent anymore. It actually equals dollars. You can do this. We'll have a calculator for everyone to take a look at, so you can calculate your own percent, what it means to your business, right? Because everyone can have a slightly different number. Now, what kind of presentation and shocking reveal would this be if we only increased retention rates in this study by 1%? Well, everybody, cue the fireworks. In this study, we saw an increase of retention rates of 11.66%. You just saw what 1% does. In this study, we saw that lenders increased their retention rates by an average of 11.66%. That is the shocking discovery. And again, I just want to remind everyone, we are looking at customers. We're not even looking at purchase deals. We're only looking at refi. We're looking at customers that went to the market to do a loan and ended up doing it with one of these lenders. What percentage of increase was it from the previous year? So this isn't your leads, your prospects, your pre-quals, your pipeline, your turn down. It's none of those. It's just refi. And that's 11. If we added all of those things in, it would be a much higher percentage. And we wanted to do refi because it's very clear. It's easy to track that information, right? So 11.66, not 1%, but 11.66. So you can imagine what that does to a business. Now, let's take a look at a lender, at a real world example of what a lender experiences when running an automated borrower retention system. Now, the folks at American Pacific were kind enough to allow us to use their name and actually use the real numbers from this study. So why don't we take a look at this? By the way, remember we said 11.66% was the average? Guess what American Pacific got? 46% increase. A 46% increase in their retention when they dialed in automated borrower retention. When they were working with us, they were able to dial this up to 46%. What does that mean? An additional 2,500 of their customers stayed with them and didn't go to another lender. 2,500 customers. That's an additional $637 million in additional volume. That's almost $16 million. Almost $16 million in profit. I hope you heard me, because that is worth more fireworks. Almost $16 million in additional volume from recapturing your customers. By the way, Kurt, I think it's time to do some dinner. Dinner's on you. No, you guys are absolutely amazing. And that kind of result, that is what we dream for the entire industry, because having an automated system doesn't just help you, it helps your borrowers, it helps your loan officers, it helps your referral partners. The more repeat business you get, the better it is for everyone involved. Now look, this one you guys might want to drink for. It's 2020, and all of you sitting in the audience right now, tell me if you're thinking this, put it in chat. Tell me if you're thinking this. Alex, it's 2020. It's 2020. Everyone did well in 2020. Of course, you saw these numbers. But guess what? The other part of what was shocking in our discovery is that we had people that actually went down in their retention numbers. Now, we're going to explain to you why in just a second, but this is a real life example. I know. Let's take a moment. We're not going to mention their name, but let's take a moment. Let's have a drink for them. Because losing 9% of your customers to your competitors, it hurts. So a moment of silence and a drink. Look, if we use the exact same, we're not going to use their numbers. We're not going to mention their name. But this is an organization that's got hundreds of branches around the country. Hundreds. But we're going to use the example that we used before just to keep the math consistent. If they lost 9% of their customers to competitors, that means they would have lost, out of 20,000, right? We're going to use the same math. They would have lost 1,800 plus customers to a competitor. Using the exact same numbers, $250,000 average loan amount. That's over 460 million in missed opportunities, over 11 million in profit that they just didn't get to recognize, that they just didn't get to put back into the business. They didn't give it back to their loan officers. They didn't give it back to their borrowers. They didn't give it back to their communities. They just couldn't do it because they lost it. And so it's important to understand why. It's important to understand why. Let me give you an example. Had we talked about all of the retention that American Pacific Mortgage did, okay, from what we talked about before, if we took everything into account, American Pacific actually generated $2.6 billion across the board in 2020 from sales boomerang notifications and automating their borrower retention. $2.6 billion total. That was just refi, just customers. Okay. The difference between all the organizations that went up 11.66% on average in retention to what I just showed you a second ago in the loss was focus. The organization that went down in retention, everyone across the board that we tracked that went down in retention did not have this as a company-wide focus. It was a region, it was branches, it was divisions, but it wasn't company-wide. And so look, we're not talking about sales boomerang. We're talking about retention. We're talking about what retention means to you, your business, and this industry. It's a significant impact by going even 1% up. 1%. Not even talking about 10xing that to 11%, right? So it's critical. It's critical that when you start to look at retention, you have focus. And so the very first takeaway that we want to talk about from today, okay? The very first takeaway is going to be your focus. You need to be focused company-wide. Get everyone in your organization rowing in the same direction, believing in the value of retention across every division. And believe you me, we will be talking to that organization and giving them the details of the study and what they need to do to not lose retention. Losing $11 million in a time like now is a bad place to be. They needed that. So number one thing we learned today is focus. Make this a company-wide initiative. Number two thing we learned today is automate. Automate your signals. Automate your reporting. Automate all the data flow, all the opportunities. Automate, automate, automate. Very important. If you're going to do it yourself, you automate. If you're not going to do it yourself, partner with someone that's going to automate your borrower retention and gives you all three things: automation, reporting, and signals. And number three, probably my favorite, and probably the one you're going to remember most, is it's time for all of you to become Hotel California for your customers. Your borrowers need to check in, but they should never check out. They should know you're their lender, and you should know they're your borrower. And since we brought Hotel California back, I believe it's time for us to bring Mark back on the scene and let us play us off and enjoy his amazing guitar play. And what I want to do right now is I want to thank Housing Wire for putting this event together and allowing us to be on this virtual stage with everyone and educating and entertaining all of you. You guys are amazing. Everyone in the audience, we love you. We will talk to you soon. And now it's time for Mark to do his magic.